The missionaries have established hospitals throughout the vicariate where the native people are receiving the best of medical attention. Many are suffering from leprosy, once considered incurable.
I had just finished my nursing training. I knew nothing about leprosy. I had to learn. And I hadn't had anything to do with grown-up Aboriginals.
Isolated cases of leprosy had occurred in the Kimberley from as early as 1870, introduced by Asian crews working the pearl luggers. Highly contagious, it spread amongst Aboriginal people in the same way as influenza, smallpox and measles.
There was a huge fear of leprosy. It was very much associated with the police, and of course that's another problem. It was the police in many cases bringing them in.
It took years for the government to recognise the extent of the problem. Eventually they established a leprosarium outside of Derby in 1937. The sisters volunteered as nurses and worked at the leprosarium for almost 50 years until its closure in 1986. At the height of the epidemic, there were 350 patients and only 3 nursing sisters. The diagnosis of leprosy was often a life sentence. Once identified with the disease, people were separated from their families and held within the confines of the leprosarium.
Quite a few people from here went. We couldn't understand, what it was, and, that we all heard that, they had to go there. And we didn't know how serious the disease were.
It was a bit of a shock. My mother was nursing, and a friend, an Asian friend, and she caught it.
It's tough love when you had to identify a child in school and you were required to identify them if you thought they had leprosy. Now that's tough love, because you know that that child is going to be taken from their family and put out at the leprosarium. And in the time I'm talking about, there wasn't a cure.
Yeah, when we had visitors or family, they used to come and visit us. They weren't allowed to touch us or come near us. They had to sit that far away from us.
Well, before they got into the room, they got their medicine on the veranda here. Then they all went in there. We checked everyone for their feet and hands to see if there were any injuries. They all had their feet and hands bathed, and any that need dressings had dressings done. In the early days, yes, the treatment was shalmugra. The oil was heated over a stove and injected hot into the patient's lesions. It was terribly painful, but they endured it because they thought it was going to do them some good. But it was really useless.
This photo here, see this baby here? That's me. My mom was sick in Derby, Bangon, and she had leprosy.
A baby born at the leprosarium was taken straight from the mother. Well, that was dreadful for the mother. She couldn't even touch that child.
The nuns cut the cord, and I was then sent to Beagle Bay. This is 4 of us that I've got a photo of that was born at Derby Leprosarium and taken away. But there could be more, over 30-odd children born there and taken out and put on the missions. So yeah, this is another old photo I kept. Didn't think that it'd come in handy one day.
Mother Alphonsus, she used to be with the music, and taught us how to play instruments. And you wouldn't believe all those people that they'd never even been at school, never learned nothing, couldn't read or write. But when they started playing, they used to play all classical music.
Because they're musical and because they just loved music so much, it gave them a break from the awful monotony of being closed away from people. If they hadn't had music in the evenings, what were they supposed to do? Go to bed and do nothing?
Over a period of 50 years, around 1,200 people were brought to the leprosarium. Many would never see their country again.